The wizarding world survived by the smallest of margins, on the knife edge of choices so small they were never recorded as history. Most fans, most chroniclers, walked right past them. They saw the great battles, the grand sacrifices, the clash of legendary wands. They did not see the hinges upon which the entire story turned. They did not see the quiet moments in forgotten rooms where everything was nearly lost. This is the chronicle of those moments, the history of the world that almost was. 5. The unsent letter. The parchment is cheap, torn from a school notebook. The ink is a smudged, tear-blotted blue. A little girl, all sharp angles and furious envy, pours her entire heart into a plea addressed to a man she has never met, a headmaster of a school she is forbidden to attend. In the world that was, Petunia Evans sends this letter, receives a kind but firm rejection from Albus Dumbledore, and the rejection calcifies. It hardens into a bitter, lifelong resentment that will one day provide the inhospitable soil in which her nephew is forced to grow. A strange and terrible protection in its own right. But in the world that almost was, her desperation finds a different outlet. The letter is never sent. Instead, that night, she follows her sister. She slips out of the house in Cokeworth, a small, sharp shadow trailing a girl of impossible light, and sees him. Severus Snape, the strange boy from Spinner's End, is showing Lily a flower that blooms and closes in the palm of her hand. He is speaking of a world Petunia craves, a world of power and belonging that has been denied her, and in that moment, jealousy does not curdle into bitterness. It sharpens into ambition. She does not want to be a witch. She wants to control them. She watches them for weeks, listens to their talk of Hogwarts, of purebloods and mudbloods. The words are poison, but to Petunia, they sound like a structure, a hierarchy she can understand and perhaps climb. She finds the boy Snape alone one day. She does not ask him for magic. She asks him about his friends, the ones he mentions with a dark sort of pride, the ones with old names, Malfoy, Avery, Lestrange. She offers him something he has never had, an admirer who does not care for his magic, but for his knowledge of power. She becomes his confidant in the mundane world, his anchor and his audience during the summers. She learns. She is a quick study in the arts of resentment, of ideology, of seeing the world as a thing to be ordered. When Lily goes to Hogwarts, Petunia begins a correspondence not with Dumbledore, but with a young Lucius Malfoy, whose address she coaxes from a proud Severus. Her letters are not childish pleas. They are precise, observant, filled with details about the non-magical world, its weaknesses, its politics, its utter blindness. She offers herself not as a witch, but as a different kind of asset, a spy, a strategist, someone who understands the world they wish to dominate. She marries Vernon Dursley, not out of a desire for normalcy, but for the perfect cover. Their house is a fortress of mundane observability, and when the First War begins, she is one of Voldemort's most valuable and most secret assets. She reports on movements, on ministry connections gleaned from Vernon's business dealings, on the very patterns of the world her sister has left behind. She is the one who confirms the Potter's location in Godric's Hollow, not through magic, but through a casual, expertly placed phone call to an old school friend who lives nearby. She is the one who ensures the coast is clear. When Voldemort falls, her role is never discovered. She is simply the grieving sister, and when Dumbledore arrives on her doorstep with a bundled infant, he does not find a woman hardened by jealousy. He finds a secret, patient servant of a fallen master. The blood wards erected around number 4, Privet Drive, are born of Lily's sacrifice, yes, but they are anchored to Petunia's home, to her blood, and they are a lie. The magic requires her to accept the boy, to give him a home. She does. She accepts him with a thin, terrible smile. The house is not a shield, it is a cage, a listening post. She raises Harry not with neglect, but with a cold, watchful precision. She documents every accidental burst of magic, every strange occurrence, every childhood nightmare. She sends these reports year after year to Lucius Malfoy, who keeps them for the day his master returns. The boy grows up loved by no one, but watched by everyone. When Voldemort is reborn, he does not need to capture Harry to read his mind. He has the boy's entire life documented in neat, typewritten pages. He knows about the Dursleys' abuse, about Harry's desperate need for a family, about his connection to the Dementors. He knows every weakness, every fear, before Harry even knows them himself. The Dark Lord does not need legilimency. He has Petunia's notes. The war is not a struggle, it is an autopsy, all because a little girl, burning with a feeling she could not name, decided to follow her sister into the dark, instead of writing a letter to the light. 4. The misplaced book. Horace Slughorn is a man of curated comforts and deliberate omissions. His memories are edited for pleasantness, his history a collection of prize students, scrubbed of their inconvenient futures. In the aftermath of his most terrible mistake, a conversation about souls and splitting them with a brilliant, terrifying boy named Tom Riddle, he panics. It is a quiet, internal panic, the kind that tidies itself away. He takes the book, the foulest of texts, secrets of the darkest art, and hides it. In the world that was, he returns it to the headmaster's office, where it is locked away in the restricted section, a poison kept under careful guard. But in the world almost was, his panic is sloppier, his hands shake. He is late for a dinner party with the minister's under-secretary. He cannot get to the headmaster's office unseen, so he finds a temporary solution. He shoves the book, all leather-bound horror and whispering pages, into a dusty, forgotten corner of the potions classroom storage cupboard, behind a crate of dried flobberworms he hasn't used in a decade. He tells himself he will move it tomorrow. He does not, he forgets. The book sits, it waits. Years pass, Slughorn retires. A new potions master takes his place, a young man with a sharp mind and a festering wound in his heart. Severus Snape, in his first year of teaching, decides to do a full inventory of the dungeon stores. He is thorough, he is precise, and behind the flobberworms, his fingers brush against old leather. He pulls it out, secrets of the darkest art. He opens it, he knows instantly what he is holding. He has heard whispers of this book, this legendary source of forbidden knowledge. He sees the chapter titles, the elegant, spidery script of the annotations. He recognizes the handwriting. It belongs to the man who first called him a mudblood, the man who stole his only friend, James Potter. No, that is not right. He looks closer. It is not James, the looping T, the sharp R. It is Tom Riddle. He sees the scrawled question in the margin. Is not 7 the most powerfully magical number? Snape's world tilts. He understands. He understands what the Dark Lord has done, how he survived. The knowledge is a physical weight, a cold stone in his gut. He should take it to Dumbledore. He knows this. It is the single most important piece of intelligence the Order could possess. It is the key to destroying Voldemort, but he hesitates. Dumbledore trusts him, but only so far. He is a spy, a tool, a man living a half-life of penance. What if Dumbledore does not believe him? What if he thinks this is some elaborate trap? Or worse, what if he takes the knowledge and simply continues to use Snape, as he always has, a pawn in a game whose rules he is not permitted to know? The book whispers to him, it is not just about splitting one's soul, it is about power, power to protect, power to ensure that what happened to Lily will never happen again. He could use this. He could create his own anchor, a single secret Horcrux, not for immortality but for insurance, a way to guarantee he can finish his mission, a way to survive long enough to see Potter's son safe and Voldemort destroyed. It is a perversion of his purpose, a deal with the very devil he fights, but in the lonely silence of the dungeons, it feels like logic. He does not tell Dumbledore. He keeps the book. He begins his research. The war continues as it did, but now Snape carries a second secret, one far heavier than his allegiance. He is looking for an object. He is planning a murder. He needs a death of significance to fracture his soul. He thinks of the Death Eaters he despises, Bellatrix Greyback. He could kill one of them, and the world would be better for it. But the magic is specific. The act must be remorseless. Can he truly be remorseless? The internal conflict eats at him. He becomes more erratic. His teaching suffers. His ability to shield his mind from the Dark Lord weakens. Voldemort senses the change, the ambition, the darkness stirring in his servant. He does not see the truth, but he sees a crack in the monolith of Snape's control. He pushes, he probes, and one night, during a routine report, he breaks through. He sees not the full plan, but a flicker of it. The book, the ritual, the desire for a power that mirrors his own, and Voldemort laughs. He does not kill Snape. A rival is a problem. A servant who desires your own power is a tool. He sees a path not to one immortal Dark Lord, but to 2, an apprentice, a successor. The world is no longer fighting to stop one man. It is fighting to stop an idea that has begun to spread. All because a man who loved comfort more than courage put a book in the wrong place. 3. The Healer's Oath. The wound is small, a pair of puncture marks just above the hip, but it will not close. It bleeds sluggishly, weeping a dark, venomous ooze that sizzles on the sterile white sheets of St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries. Arthur Weasley is pale, his breathing shallow. Healer Hippocrates Smethwick works tirelessly, muttering incantations, applying poultices of powdered silver and dittany. In the world that was, Smethwick is a competent, dedicated professional. He has treated snake bites before, even magical ones. He recognizes the necrotizing properties of the venom and knows the complex countercurses required. He saves Arthur Weasley's life. The family gathers around his bed, shake but whole. Their relief is a shield, their unity is a weapon. But in the world that almost was, the healer on duty is not Smethwick. It is a man named Augustus Pye, a trainee under Smethwick's supervision. A young wizard eager to prove himself but prone to panic. Or perhaps it is an older healer, one who reads the Daily Prophet with a grim nod, one who believes the whispers about blood traitors and mudbloods, who sees Arthur Weasley not as a patient, but as a political statement. The choice of healer is a matter of chance, a rota pinned to a notice board, and this time chance is cruel. The healer misdiagnoses the venom. He treats it as a simple basilisk bite, using phoenix tears, which have no effect. He tries a standard blood-replenishing potion, which the venom curdles instantly, causing septic shock. By the time they realise the error, it is too late. Arthur Weasley dies on a cold winter morning, surrounded by the frantic, useless movements of medical professionals. Molly Weasley's scream is a sound that breaks. It breaks the quiet of the ward. It breaks the hearts of her children. It breaks the Weasley family. The burrow, once a chaotic symphony of warmth and life, becomes a house of quiet, hollowed-out grief. Molly withdraws into herself, a ghost rattling through her own home. Fred and George's jokes die on their lips. Weasley's wizard wheezes shutters its windows before it ever truly opens. Percy, already estranged, hears the news and feels a grief so profound it solidifies his misguided loyalty to the ministry. A desperate attempt to impose order on a world that has stolen his father. Ginny, who adored her father, retreats into a fierce, brittle silence. She closes herself off, her light extinguished. She does not date Dean or Michael. She does not become the fiery, confident heart of Dumbledoreville's army. She is just a quiet, sad girl who has lost too much. And Ron. Ron is destroyed. His father was his hero, his moral compass. Without him, the weight of the war, the pressure of being Harry Potter's best friend is unbearable. He grows resentful, angry. Every small slight from Harry, every perceived moment of being overlooked is magnified through the lens of his grief. He sees Harry's survival not as a miracle, but as an injustice. Why him, why not his dad? The Horcrux hunt is a disaster. The locket does not need to work hard to poison Ron's mind. It is already a swamp of despair. He leaves, not in a temporary fit of pique, but with a final, bitter certainty. He goes home to a mother who cannot comfort him, and a house that is no longer a home. He does not come back. Harry and Hermione continue alone, but the dynamic is broken. The trio was a three-legged stool. With one leg gone, it collapses. Hermione's brilliance and Harry's courage are not enough without Ron's heart, his humour, his Castedfat's complaining loyalty. They find the sword, but there is no one to pull it from the ice. They are captured by snatchers and taken to Malfoy Manor, and there is no Ron to hear Hermione's name on the beaded bag, no one to apparate with Dobby to save them. Hermione is lost to Bellatrix's knife. Harry is taken to Voldemort. The war ends. Not with a bang, but with the quiet, devastating ripple effect of a single medical error. The world is not saved by grand heroes alone. It is saved by competent, decent people doing their jobs. It is saved by healers who honour their oath, by Aurors who file their reports, by shopkeepers who pass on whispers. The wizarding world's immune system is made of ordinary people. On that winter morning, it failed too. The second best wand, Garrick Ollivander, is hanging upside down in the dark. The cellar of Malfoy Manor is cold, and the blood rushing to his head makes the world a pulsing, red-tinged nightmare. The Dark Lord's voice is a high, cold whisper that cuts through the fog of pain. He is asking about wands, specifically, about the connection between his own and Harry Potter's, the twin cause, priori incantatem. In the world that was, Ollivander, under unbearable torture, tells the truth. He explains the bond, the way the wands will not work properly against each other. He suggests truthfully that Voldemort use another's wand. This piece of information is the seed of everything that follows. It sends Voldemort on a quest for a new wand, a better wand, a more powerful wand. It leads him through a trail of blood and memory to the Elder Wand. It is the first step in Dumbledore's grand, intricate, impossibly risky plan, but in the world that almost was, something in Ollivander breaks. Or perhaps something holds firm. Perhaps it is a final desperate act of defiance from a man who has dedicated his life to the subtle science of loyalty between wizard and wood. He has seen the boy, Harry Potter. He remembers the spark when the holly and phoenix feather wand chose him. He remembers the feeling of destiny in his shop that day, and he decides to lie. It is a small lie, born of agony and hope. When Voldemort asks why his wand failed, Ollivander does not speak of twin cores. He speaks of love. He crafts a desperate, plausible fiction. He says that the protection Lily Potter gave her son was not a one-time event, but a lingering ambient magic tied to the boy's own blood. He claims that any wand wielded by Voldemort will be defeated by this innate, powerful magic. He tells the Dark Lord that the problem is not the wand, but the wizard wielding it against Harry Potter. He needs a proxy. Someone else must kill the boy. For Voldemort, a creature of ultimate ego and pride, this is both an infuriating and a strangely satisfying answer. It confirms his belief in the boy's freakish unlucky. It is not a weakness in his own power, but an anomaly in his enemies. He accepts it, and the entire course of the war changes. Voldemort abandons the quest for the Elder Wand. Why seek a new instrument when the problem is the player? He never learns of its existence, its history, its bloody trail through the centuries. Dumbledore's plan, which hinges entirely on Voldemort's obsession with the Deathly Hallows and the allegiance of that specific wand, evaporates. The final confrontation is no longer a complex dance of ownership and mastery. It is simply a matter of power. Voldemort does not send Draco to kill Dumbledore. He entrusts the task to Snape from the beginning, a simple order to remove an obstacle. Snape succeeds as planned. But Dumbledore dies as the master of the Elder Wand, and its power dies with him, its allegiance unbroken. Harry, Ron, and Hermione begin their Horcrux hunt, but they do so in a world where Dumbledore's final gift, the knowledge of the Hallows, is absent. The story of the three brothers remains a children's tale. The symbol is just a mark graffitied by a forgotten dark wizard. They never seek the resurrection stone, they never understand the invisibility cloak, and Harry never becomes the master of the Elder Wand. The final battle at Hogwarts is a bloodbath, without the protection afforded by Harry's willing sacrifice, a protection he only understood because of his journey through the Hallows. Voldemort's curses are not deflected, they land. Neville does not get his moment of heroic defiance, because he is struck down by a stray curse from a Death Eater. Students and teachers fall, not to be stunned but to be killed. When Harry faces Voldemort in the Great Hall, he does so without the allegiance of the Elder Wand. He holds his Phoenix Feather Wand. Voldemort holds the U. There is no twin core phenomenon to protect him. There is no question of mastery. There is only a boy, brave but outmatched, facing a monster. The killing curse flies, and this time it works. The world is lost. All because a broken man in a dark cellar chose to tell a lie about love instead of a truth about wood. He thought he was protecting the boy. Instead, he disarmed him of a destiny he never knew he had. 1. The Boy in the Rain. The evening is thick with the smell of wet pavement and ozone. Albus Dumbledore stands on the doorstep of number 4 Privet Drive, his robes startlingly vibrant against the drab suburban twilight. He is waiting. He has sent an owl. He has made it clear he is coming for Harry Potter. He expects a confrontation, a final volley of petty outrage from the Dursleys, before they surrender their charge for the last time. In the world that was, they are there. They are furious, they are rude, but they are present. Dumbledore enters the house, performs his quiet theatre of intimidation with the enchanted glasses of mead, and delivers his final warnings. The magic holds. The house remains a home, however begrudgingly, for a few more crucial weeks. The blood protection, anchored to a place Harry must call home, endures until his 17th birthday. But in the world that almost was, the Dursleys' cruelty finds its peak. They receive the owl. They read the letter. And they decide they have had enough. It is not a grand, dramatic decision. It is a small, mean, thoroughly Dursley-ish one. They pack a small bag for the boy. They drive him to the train station at King's Cross, 2 months early. They leave him on the platform under the pretense of going to find a trolley. And they drive away. They do not look back. Harry waits. He is 16 years old, battle-scarred and grieving, and he waits on a train platform for a family that is not coming back. The minutes stretch into an hour. People stare. The summer rain begins to fall, soaking his clothes, plastering his hair to his forehead. He understands. They have finally done it. They have thrown him away. In that moment, something inside him breaks. It is not his spirit. It is a bond. the faint silvery thread of magic that connects him to number 4, Privet Drive, the magic that flows from his mother's sacrifice and is forcibly renewed. Each summer he returns, snaps. He no longer calls that place home. How can he? A home is not a place that abandons you at a train station in the rain. When Dumbledore arrives at Privet Drive, he finds the house empty. A single note on the kitchen table reads, "He's at the station." The cold dread that fills Dumbledore is a feeling he has not known since the night James and Lily died. He finds Harry easily enough, a miserable, shivering figure huddled on a bench. He brings him not to the Burrow, which is being watched, but to Grimmauld Place. The conversation that follows is the gravest of Harry's life. Dumbledore explains the ancient magic, the blood protection, and then he explains that it is gone. The charm was absolute, but its conditions were fragile. It rested not on stone and mortar, but on the abstract concept of home. The Dursleys' final act of abandonment has served Voldemort better than any spy or any curse. Harry Potter is vulnerable. The safe house is compromised. The war has just begun a year ahead of schedule, on terms dictated by the enemy. The full force of the Order of the Phoenix is mobilized not for missions but for guard duty. Grimmauld Place becomes a fortress, but it is also a prison. Harry cannot leave. Every member of the Order takes shifts standing watch, their resources stretched thin, their own families left exposed. The hunt for the Horcruxes cannot begin. The priority is simply keeping the boy alive. Voldemort knows. The connection between his mind and Harry's, no longer buffered by the blood wards, is clearer than ever. He does not need to attack directly. He knows Harry is trapped. He begins to move on the world outside. Without the Order to oppose them, the Death Eaters' attacks intensify. Diagon Alley is sacked, Hogsmeade is occupied, Ministry officials are assassinated one by one. The world crumbles while the Saviour sits in a dusty, depressing house, watching it happen through the pages of the Daily Prophet. The strain is immense. Remus and Tonks postpone their relationship, their lives on hold for guard duty. Bill and Fleur's wedding is cancelled. The Weasleys are moved to a secure location, their lives upended. The entire resistance is hamstrung, caught in a defensive posture from which they cannot escape. The world does not fall because of a grand battle. It is choked into submission slowly, methodically. All because the most powerful, love-based magic in history had one catastrophic vulnerability. It had to be anchored by people who had no love at all, and their small, suburban spite proved to be a more effective weapon than any dark magic Voldemort could conjure. The world was saved countless times by courage, by sacrifice, by love, but it was almost lost, completely and irrevocably, by a car driving away from a train station on a rainy summer evening. That is the margin. That is how fragile it all was. The world that is, the story we know, is not a monument. It is a ghost. It is haunted by the echoes of all the other worlds that almost were. Worlds that flicker and die in the space of a single different choice. A sent letter, a misplaced book, a healer's mistake, a desperate lie, a final act of cruelty. History does not turn on the strength of heroes. It turns on the unbearable fragility of moments. And it is a miracle, of the quietest and most terrifying kind, that it ever turned out the way it did. This has been What If. Thank you for listening.